Good morning, Central Texas. Welcome to Kids Community Connections, 103.1 Kiss FM. I'm Phyllis Jones, your host. And guess what? I'm your guest. Isn't that pretty cool? I know. You know what? It's getting cool outside, so I'm getting to be pretty happy here with the weather. We have a lot to talk about this morning. First of all, I've been asked one question like a gazillion times. And I was asked to do it as a topic on the radio, but I don't think it's the topic that I need to do on radio. Just my own personal opinion, and so I'm not going to do it. But it's about this, the taking the knee over the flag. So I've been asked, what my opinion was. And my own personal opinion, not the opinion of the station, is this. We are Americans, United States Americans, all of us are. And so we do have rights. You have a right to go to whatever church you want to go to. You whatever belief you want to, you have a right to do that. You have a right to be a non-believer. We have several rights, and our rights, yes, people fought and died for the rights that we have today. Now, doing the pledge and not doing the pledge, I hate to tell it to you, but I believe it's a right. You have a right to do it, and you have a right not to do it. It's not saying that you're non-patriotic either, because if you want to talk about the wars, our soldiers fought and died in wars for us to be able to be free to believe and to do what we chose to do and not what was dictated to you by the government. So the right to do the pledge, you have a right to do it and you're right not to. I don't think that someone should dictate to me what I better do as far as things that are personal to me. Like I said, I have a right to believe in whatever I want to believe in. I can go to whatever church I want to go to. Don't have to. I don't want to. I have a right to vote. And if I don't want to vote, don't have to vote, but I can't complain if I don't, but you have those rights. So I think that people who are impeding on your right to say, if you don't do the pledge, you don't stand up or whatever, you're non-patriotic. I disagree with that. I think that everybody have a right to do what they want to do, So, women, we get not hung up, but we complain about the rights for abortion, where we'll tell our congressmen and our senators and men pierce that of a woman's body because it's her choice. And once again, here's that word, her choice, to do what she wants to do with her body. So we need to be careful when we say, you have a choice to this, but you don't have a choice to do that. Me personally, I think everybody has the right to do what they want to do, as long as it's something that they've decided to do and that's been dictated to them. As far as voting, as far as churches, as far as religion, as far as the United States flag, everybody has their own personal opinions about it, which are great. Because if we all believed in the same thing, we'd be a lousy country. Really, we would. We would be a robotic place. But as far as going to the violence and telling people that they're not patriotic, you'll never hear me say that. Because like I said, I believe people should do whatever they believe in, and they should be safely able to do so. We should, I can criticize you behind, silently, but publicly, I shouldn't criticize you. And we can't criticize this and not criticize that. So we can't have selective criticism, to which we do have. Like I said, everybody has the right to do what he or she believes in. And our soldiers, I don't think they fought and died for that cloth called the flag. They fought and died for freedom to choose and freedom to be an American, and free. And that's my stance on that. And part of the freedom part, I'll agree. No, we're not free. We're not. You're only free if you got the money to pay for it. As we look at today's crime rate, we see that it's almost become legal for some of our angry white cops, not all of them, to shoot a black man. We've seen that it's becoming to be a free thing here, and nobody's being held accountable for it. So people say that we aren't free. Well, true, we aren't, because freedom would be even across the board. So that's my stance on the taking the knee or sitting down, or whatever you want to do for the pledge. I just, like I said, everybody has their own reasons, their own beliefs, and I think they should practice them, and we should not have this shouldn't go this far. To me, it's went too far. Also, some people have taken it out of content into their own personal content, and that's when you enter a danger zone, when you take it, put it into your own personal content, and then you go out with it and have it on the news and have it in the newspaper. You take away from what actually was done for. So that's my stance on that. Not the station, not KISS, just Phyllis. So if you want to come at me, come at Phyllis, not the station. And as far as our right to vote, we know, or whether you should know, in Texas, November 7th, 2017 is the constitutional amendment election. Yes, so if you have not registered to vote, getting kind of close. I'm pretty sure this week is the last week. This week will be your last week if you are an unregistered voter. But November 7th is coming soon. And the early voter, will start in October. But it's a constitutional election. And you have only you have 7 amendments on this Constitution to vote on. So remember, it's your constitutional amendment election. So it's not where we're electing anybody, any of your congressmen, any of your state. None of that is going on. This is just your constitutional election that Texas does every 2 years. So we need to pay attention. Like I said, there's 7 of them. And one, most times if people talk to me, I'll give you the number and then tell you to go find the bill, but I won't do that. But the first one is the constitutional amendment is authorizing the legislature to provide an exemption from ad valorem taxation as part of the market value of residence homesteads of a partially disabled veteran or a surviving spouse of a partially disabled veteran if the residence/homestead was donated to the disabled veteran by a charitable organization for less than the market value of the residence homestead. So pay attention to the first one, because the first one actually deals with our veterans. So I need you to read it and understand it. And veterans, you need to read it and understand it and pass it on to other veterans to see if it's something that they want to know about. Also, proposition number 2 is a constitutional amendment to lower the amount for expenses that can be charged to a borrower and removing certain financial expense limitations for a home equity loan, establishing certain authorizing lenders to make a home equity loan, charging certain options for refinancing of the home equity loan. So the proposition number 2 is about your home equity loans. So I think that we need to pay attention to that one also. In fact, all of them you need to pay attention to. The third one is very short. And what it says is the constitutional amendment limiting the services of certain office holders appointed by the governor and confirmed by the Senate after the expiration date of the person's term of office. And these bills, like I said, all you gotta do is Google Texas constitutional election 2017, and you can read more about them. They give you the bill number that you can actually look up, follow, and track the bill and understand it. A lot of the bills sometimes are written in a language that is meant to confuse you, if you know what I mean. So we need to read it and understand it. And those of you who are politically astute and political junkies, take these amendments, change them down to everyday language, and make sure that people that they impact get the information. A lot of times you go to vote on, especially your constitutional election, and you're not understanding exactly what the bill says. It looks like gibberish to you because it's written in, like I said, certain ways. A lot of times what we need to do is take some of these bills, like I said, your political junkies and your organizations, and people are just interested in making sure people get out to vote and understand what the vote is. All we need to do is take it and not change it, but you take it and put it into the language that everybody will understand. I will always say put things in 5th grade language, because no matter what and where anybody is in school, everybody passed the 5th grade. So like I'm telling everybody else, I'm gonna do it myself. I would take these bills and not bills, the constitutional amendments, and take them, and I will download them all, copy them all, and then I won't change it, like I said, but I will put it in 5th grade language and pass it out. Also, there are those of us who have senior citizens that we know and we love and trust and we deal with, and You know, we trust that they will help us with this, but make some copies of all these propositions and pass them out to your senior citizens who vote and who believe in voting. We know a lot of our senior citizens are computer challenged. They're not going to do it. They're just not going to do it. I don't care how long you sit with them or talk with them. They're not going to do it. They're just not. So let's make some copies. I'm sure everybody can afford to make at least 20 copies or more, and make sure your senior citizens get these and take them in their hands and let them know when you copy it for them, get them to pass it around to the other senior citizens, friends, and you know, encourage them to have a little coffee or a little tea or whatever, you know, but talk about them, but let them know that they can check off these, write little notes, and they can actually take this into the polls and go vote to the polls. They can go vote with the sheet of paper. You are allowed a cheat sheet. You just can't have your cell phone in there, but you are allowed a cheat sheet. So the same paper that you're gonna download and copy for them is the same piece of paper they can take and go vote. And I'm saying your senior citizens because, you know, we're standing on the shoulders of our senior citizens. So that are not in that age bracket, we're still responsible for doing two things. We're responsible for now paying back to them the knowledge that they gave us. Such as I say myself, you know, and I'm going to say their names. I'll say Rosa Herford and Miss Ernestine Warren and Horace Grace and Roscoe Harrison. You know, they got me inducted into the political hall of knowledge. Well, now that they're older, my job would be to go back to Miss Warren, Rosa Herford. Well, Horace is still up on it, and so is Roscoe. But my job would be to go back to the senior citizens who I learned from and say, hey, those that I know that are technologically challenged, and I know who they are, to go back to them and say, you know what? You helped me get this far, but now I'm going to help you. So you give it to them and empower them to say, hey, you know what? I need you to do what you taught me to do. Talk to the other senior citizens and get them go out to vote. So we owe it to them, just like they owed it to us. We now owe back to them. And our young people, get to them. Get to our young people and let them know the power of the vote. And the challenge is that they meet that challenge and go vote. But with these bills, make sure that they understand where they fit in the bill. You know, too often we'll just say, just go vote. No, that's not good enough. You might think it is, but some people it's not good enough. So take some of these bills. I keep saying bills, but they're same thing, propositions or whatever. But whatever's comfortable for you to call them. But take them to our people and to young people and say, hey, listen, you know, for November's election, this is coming up. This might not affect you, but it could affect your parents. You know, let them know. It could affect your parents. It could affect you down the line. So go to our senior citizens, go to our young voters, and let's get them to vote and learn what these propositions are. Okay, now I'm going back to them. And proposition number 4 is a constitutional amendment authorizing the legislature to require a court to provide notice to the Attorney General of a challenge to a constitutionally of a state statute, and authorizing the legislator to prescribe a waiting period before the court may enter a judgment holding the statute unconstitutional. That one, kind of tough. And I'll tell you why. I testified before the Texas federal courts on redistricting. I challenged the fact that Killeen, Texas, has more in common with Belton than we do with Copper's Cove. And my reason for that was to defend a map that was written to say that we have more in line with land passes, and we don't. We really don't. But it's to keep a certain group of people from voting, their voting strength, if it goes to land passes versus if it goes to Belton. Why I'm saying this is because when I testified before the federal courts, we won. We being the Texas State NAACP, we won that battle. Well, this law right here can have us win, but it can be sent to the legislators for a final thought, or to our state attorney general for his final thought of the bill. I don't think it should do. I think if the judges make a judgment of it, it should stand, not have to go through some more to see if we can change or fix it. So we might want to look at that one, because redistricting in Texas is tough. If you're not paying attention, you'll be redistricted out of one area into another area, and you had no clue. Because this is when you vote on it. After this, you won't vote on it on whether they could change things. The courts can change judgments with our attorney general. It won't come up again. But we need to fix this one now, so that when redistricting begins, we will be able to go to court, fight, win, and not worry about the attorney general going, I don't like it. Let's change this. So we need to defend that and hold that true. And I challenge you to learn more about redistricting, gerrymandering, and all of that. I need you to pay attention to that. Also, I need you to pay attention to the fact that this year Texas will be, let's just say, purging some voters. And because then you have certain areas of Texas where 200-300 dead people voted. You know, and some of the time the election was changed from these dead people voting. So what it is telling Texas it's time to purge these dead people off the rolls to make sure that they don't vote anymore. And we know how they've been voting. Most likely, as we know, it's probably absentee ballots, and that's how it's been done. But while that's going on, guess what we need to make sure? Someone needs to keep a watchful eye that some of those votes that I purged aren't people that are still living and vote. So yes, more for us to check on. So while Texas is going to purge voters off the list, saying that they're legally dead or can't vote anymore, we need to check and make sure that they aren't getting rid of people who actually can vote, actually can have a say so. We need to make sure. And how can you do that? Easily. You can go to the Secretary of State's website and find out if you're a registered voter. You need to do that. They're going to start purging the list in January of 2018, which is an important year for the elections, because all the seats, think about it, all of the seats, your Congress, your legislators, your senators, all those seats come up in 2018. 2018 can change the dynamics of the United States if everybody votes, I'll say, the correct way. You might not, I'm not going to say vote your party line, because you might have somebody in another party that's pretty good and for the best interest of what you think. But I'm letting you know now, they are going to start purging the list. They're supposed to be getting rid of, like I said, the dead people and the people who are no longer able to vote. They're supposed to be getting rid of that list. And as we know, that oops always jumps in, and they end up purging people who can vote. So check the list, Secretary of State's office website. You can check the list on there. Also, we should have people on the ground paying attention to this also. So I hope someone who also, once again, is a political junkie can pick this challenge up and say, okay, I got some of this too. Get a team of people together and actually work it. And, at that point, we need to build teams to get these things done, because we need to remember our forefathers, they did things as teams. They would meet at the church and decide this is A, B, and C is going to get done by person 1, 2, and 3. And then those 1, 2, and 3 got out and did their jobs. So we might not be able to meet in the churches that's passed before, but you know what? Meet up at a restaurant, at a business, somewhere, meet up so we can decide how to disseminate who's going to do what. Because politics is really playing now. And if you don't know how to play the game of politics, the strategy, you will lose because you'll sleep on something that you should not have. So we need to remember, number one, this constitutional election, and I'm going to read the rest of them, is coming up November 7th. But you need to remember, in January 2018 is when they're going to start purging the voters list of supposedly, once again, dead people and people who are no longer eligible to vote. And as I said, we know the oops button always comes in and they delete people who actually can vote. So let's build some teams. Let's get some organizations together. And it doesn't even have to be an organization. You can get a team of people that are concerned and want to do something and want to jump in. And they actually jump in, and that's what they do. Get this list. And none of these things are hidden. They really aren't. They're in our face. We just simply need to know where to find them and where to go and get the information, because it's there. It's actually there. We can find out who gets purged. And you don't want to, if you live in, I'll say, Killeen, Hawk Heights, Copper's Cove area, we don't want to know who got purged in Dallas. We don't. You want to concentrate on your city or your district, your legislative district or your senatorial district, to find out who got purged and who did not, and what that list is. Because, like I said, it's public. It'll be a public list. It won't be, oh, I can't find it, or they hid it. No. You'll be able to find it and get it. It's just a part of, is anybody going to be tasked to actually go through it? And, you know, that's another way to get our young people interested in voting. Let's say they voted for the last couple of elections and they, I don't need to vote in this one. Wait till they find out whose names got kicked off a list. Imagine letting them dive into that to find out, wait a minute, hold it, they actually did this? Yes. You know, there are different ways to jumpstart people into being interested in elections, and to giving them something to do that is meaningful and challenging, and gives them a point of saying, oh, wait a minute, hold it, this is what they're doing? Well, now I need to get these people to vote. This is what they're doing? Okay, now I got some friends to go talk to. Because getting us to tell kids to go out, well, kids or young people, to get their friends to vote, it's not strong enough. Let's give them something in their hand where they can say, you know what? Look, they purging people. They taking people's name off the list. Let's see if our name is on there. Let's see whose name is not on there. Let us see. Let us work this. And, you know, guaranteed you're going to have some young people in your corner going, what else can we do after it? So let's get all this information together, arm our elderly with the knowledge that they need to go vote, which is the ballot, their ballot, or you can download these propositions for the constitutional election, November 7th. Download that, give it to them. Our young people, let them work on the list of names of people that's going to be purged, to see if anybody in either Killeen, your legislative district, your senatorial district, your congressional district, because they're all three different. So I know I just said a whole bunch, but they're all three different. Actually, they all three are different areas. One just gets larger and larger and larger, but they're all three different. And see who gets purged. Take that list and go down it and see what's what, and how to make that change happen, and happen effectively, so that our voices will be heard. That's the most important thing. We need to make sure that our voices are heard. Okay, going back to number 5. The constitutional amendment on professional sports teams, charitable foundations conducting charitable raffles. And that's what that one is about. Just what I said. So our sports junkies and our sports people might want to look at that and see what they're talking about. And also, if you want a little more help on what some of these bills are, call your legislator and make them tell you. I didn't say ask them. Notice I didn't say that. Make them tell you. Really, seriously. And then find out where they feel about this. Call your legislator and say, hey, how do you feel about proposition number 1, 2? How do you feel about proposition number 6, number 5? How do you feel about it? And you know what? That can help you gauge on whether you need to put them in office again next year or take them out. Because remember, they work for us. We do not work for them. It's as we put them in, or somebody put them in, we can help take them out. So your politicians need to always remember that you might be in there today, but next time you might be out the next. Number 6, the constitutional amendment authorizing the legislature to provide an exemption from ad valorem taxes. Wow, of part of market value of the resident's homestead of a surviving spouse of a first responder who is killed or fatally injured in the line of duty. So this bill is much like the Veterans Bill, but it's for first responders. So pay attention to it. They kind of mimic each other with a couple of changes, but it's for your first responders. Number 7, this one is very short, and it's your constitutional amendment relating to the legislative authority to permit credit unions and other financial institutions to award prizes by promoting savings. So, you know, prizes if you save this, if you do that. We need to look into that because it concerns your credit unions and other financial institutions. So we need to check on, in fact, you know what? We need to check on all of them because all of them seem kind of tight there, especially the one about sports and the one about your voting and your judges making decisions. So like I said, you can go to texas.gov and the bills, these propositions are there. You can go there and find them. You can Google and find them, but all means find them. Remember, November 7th is election day. Early voting will start in October, but you need to be ready, be aware. I advise people, like I said before, your senior citizens, make a copy of these, more than one, give them to them, tell them they can check this off, take it to the polls. They can write on the side of it, yes, no, this is crazy. They can do that. Take these also, contact your legislator and find out what does he feel about it, he or she, what do they feel about it, because remember, guess what, they're up for election next year also. So we need to tighten it up and make sure everybody's right and do what we need to do and get it done and stop talking about what we want to do. And also, if you want to know if you're registered to vote, you can go to texas.gov. Texas.gov, actually, any information that you want is good. Oh, the last day to register to vote for the next election is October the 10th. Remember that, October the 10th. And you still do have to use your form of ID to vote. Yes, you do. And if you don't have it, you need to make sure you have the proper form. If you don't have your voter registration card, make sure you have the proper form to vote and get it done. And whatever you need to have, you still have time to get it. So remember that October the 10th is the last day to register to vote in the November election. And you still have time, like I said, to get the proper ID that you need to do this. So get it done. Senior citizens, let's depend on people who are not, who are still able to get around to assist you. Young people, we need to get them, corral them up and make sure that they do what they need to do to get everything done so that we can make this a smooth transition into voting and education. I'm going to take a break and we'll come right back.